Hi, I'm Katrina, your Pilates teacher at KN Pilates. Welcome to another Pilates session. Today we will look a little bit at centering, so we will do the exercises and I will just go into a bit more detail on centering, how we do that, why we need to be aware of that, and that will sort of go along with the core concepts video as well. So let's begin. Today we will start in supine and we'll go into our pelvic tilts. So come onto your back, have a small cushion under your head, and then just make sure that the cushion's under your head and not under the neck. And you just want to have the neck nice and long and comfortable there. Have your feet hip width and parallel, your knees hip width, and then have your hands either on your hip connection or by your sides, whichever you prefer. Breathe in to prepare, breathe out to imprint. Breathe in to arch away, and just see how your spine is feeling today, especially your lumbar spine, your lower back. Yeah. Relax the shoulders. You can close your eyes if you want to. Nothing else is happening for a few moments here. We're just going to go through a few of these, breathing in on one movement and out on the other. So one more of those. Good. Then find your neutral spine and pelvis, your neutral hip connection, and have your hands on your belly button. So we'll go into knee drops 1, and we breathe into the rib cage. Remember your lateral breath and your diaphragmatic breath we were talking about last week. So you want to draw the navel in just a tiny bit, breathe into your rib cage to prepare, and then breathe out, and lower one knee to the side. Breathe into the rib cage to return, and then breathe out to lower the other knee. So we're always alternating. So while we do these, we want to, as I said, focus a bit more on the centering part of the exercises. So we breathe into the rib cage so we can keep the connection to the center, meaning we can draw the navel in a little bit more when we need to, and a little bit less when we don't need so much centering. Yeah, so here, just to be in neutral, we don't really need much centering at all. And then as we lower the leg down, we need to engage the center a little bit more, just to make sure the body doesn't follow the leg. But at no point do you want to just squeeze the navel back and just keep that tension there, just in case for the duration of the session. That's not helpful, that's not healthy. So we only use this connection as much as we need to for the challenge, and as little as we can returning back to our sort of base tension, yeah, which in this position is probably close to 0. Yeah. We just have that connection just to be more aware of our lateral breath while that is still new. So breathing into the rib cage, breathe out, draw the navel in a little bit, breathe in, release the tension as you come back, and it again, like the breath, we go with that ebb and flow of the breath, the movement follows that, and then the centering follows that as well. So we're not just switching the muscles on and then off, yeah, with those sound effects. No, we draw the navel in a bit, and then a little bit less. Yeah, so really go with that ebb and flow of the movement, which comes from the breath, and we add the centering to it. Now in the beginning that can all be a little bit overwhelming, so much happening at once. But if you can feel the navel, just draw in. It's not a big movement at all. It's not a big difference. It's just that slight connection. Yeah. And once you get used to this, there'll come a point where you can feel the drop. And that's usually on an exercise that might be a little bit more challenging, where your core muscles will instinctively engage, which we obviously want them to. That's a great thing they do if we allow them to. And then you'll feel this drop. The navel will just draw in a little bit on its own. And that's quite a beautiful thing. So we'll work towards that sensation. So keeping with that idea of centering a bit more on the effort, a little bit less as we come out of the challenge, we'll go into tabletop. Yeah. So lifting one knee up, and then you know that you have to draw the navel in a bit more to bring that knee up without letting the back arch. Yeah. So just being in tabletop requires a bit more base engagement. Yeah, there's a little bit of tension, but we're not squeezing the belly button back. We just have that slight connection to our center. And here we do the same thing. Breathing into the rib cage. Breathe out, lower the knee, draw the navel in. Breathe into the rib cage, release the tension just to that base tension. And then breathe out, draw the navel in. Breathe into the rib cage, release the tension just to as much as you need to be here in your tabletop position with a neutral rib hip connection, neutral spine and pelvis. Breathe out to lower. And just continue with these in your own time for a few. You can close your eyes. Breathe out, connect as the leg lowers. Breathe in and release that little bit as you come back. Just notice that you're not breathing into your belly, yeah? That's the difference between your belly breathing and your rib cage breathing. We don't breathe into the belly, we breathe into the ribs. Good. One more of these. And then just draw the knees in for a moment. Relax the lower back. Good. So we then come into knee floats. That's quite a nice one to do, to really be aware of that connection to our center as we move the legs but keep the pelvis still. And it's basically what we do to come into tabletop. We just continue with those movements for a few repetitions. So again, we breathe in on the first leg. Breathe out, draw the navel in a bit on the second leg, come into tabletop. Breathe in to place the first leg down. Breathe out to place the second leg down. Start on that leg first. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. Yeah. So breathe into the rib cage. Draw the navel in. Breathe into the rib cage. Breathe out and release. Yeah, here we don't have to have any tension. Just that little bit connection to be aware of that rib cage breathing. So again, starting on the first leg. Breathe into the ribs. Breathe out, draw the navel in. Try to relax the shoulders. Breathe into the ribs, place the first leg back down. Breathe out, place the second leg down and release. And if you're not too sure which leg is going first, don't worry about it. Just sort of alternate. Good. So do a few more in your own time. Breathe in on the first leg. Breathe out on the second leg. Breathe in on the first leg to return. Breathe out on the second leg to return. A little bit of tension, a little bit more tension. Maintaining that, and then release. Yeah, at no point do I just sort of drop the legs to the floor. Yeah. So while we're focusing here on connecting the breath, the centering, the movement, the main focus, as always, is that neutral hip connection, staying still. Good. Fabulous. From here we will just go into toe taps, very similar to those knee floats, but we'll stay in tabletop and work from there. Many of you know the toe taps already. So one more time, breathe in on the first leg, breathe out on the second leg to return into tabletop. Notice that base tension you need just to maintain this position, but it's not a squeezing, yeah? You never ever want to squeeze any muscles. We don't really want to do that at all. So just a light tension for your lateral breath and to maintain your neutral rib-hip connection, and then breathe into your ribcage. Breathe out. Connect to your center a bit more, draw the navel in a little bit, breathe in to return. Breathe out to lower, draw the navel in a bit, breathe into your rib cage to return. Now while we're doing these, you might notice that the belly wants to push out on the effort. So when the leg lowers down, your navel might want to push up against your hands to push out. Yeah. Be very, very sure not to do that. So if you need to make the movement teeny, really, really small, that's fine. You only make the movement as big as you can. Continue to draw the navel in. If at any point you're going too far, the belly pushes out, then that's too difficult at the moment to maintain that connection to your center. And it's all very subtle, and in the beginning it can all be quite confusing, and you might be wondering, what on earth is she talking about? So try to take it one step at a time. Yeah, you can always revisit these concepts. You can always look at the Core Concepts videos as well that explain things a little bit, and then go back and forth between these. Good. One more. The leg lowers, the navel lowers, the leg comes back. Come back to your base tension here. Again, hug the knees in. Give yourself a little bit of a hug and a rest. See what feels good here. And then we will continue to work with the centering in mind in side lying. So from here, you can literally just roll onto your side. And just see if you need your cushion either under your head a bit higher up with the arm in front, or if your shoulder is happy to just extend the arm out, have your cushion. There, good. I'm just going to move my mic back a little bit. Hope that'll be okay. Good. So as always in side lying, we want to align the body with the feet flexed, making sure the legs aren't behind you. Yeah, just a tiny bit in front of you, not too far. Yeah, just so you can sort of have the toes just in front of you. Make sure to lift out of the waist, so there doesn't have to be space. Yeah, but you don't want to just relax the hip. So you'll notice the rib-hip connection not being a neutral. So often we just have to stretch this side out a little bit to even that out. And then you want to make sure the ribs aren't sticking out. Very common, especially when we get a bit tired or when an exercise is difficult. We sort of want to stick the ribs out to help balance. It's an interesting thing. Funny things we do. So again, the hand on that belly button so you can feel the navel draw in on the effort. Yeah, we do the same thing as we did in supine. So with the side lying exercises, we will start just with a single leg lift. So you breathe into the rib cage, breathe out to lift the leg, draw the navel in a little bit, and just to lift the leg as high as you can without scrunching the side up. Yeah, the pelvis stays completely still. That's about as far as my leg can go, and then lower back down. Yeah. So breathe into the rib cage, breathe out, draw the navel in a bit, breathe into the rib cage, release the tension a little bit, just for the base tension you might need here. Breathe out, navel draws in, breathe into the ribs, and release the centering a little bit. A bit more, a bit less, a bit more, a bit less. Yeah, pushing through that extended leg. And the lower leg, stay switched on. Don't just relax that there. the lower leg, just like your standing leg, is really strong. So that is doing its bit as well. And keeping your feet flexed is easier than having the toes pointed. So this can give you a bit more stability. So just something to bear in mind, as if there wasn't already enough to coordinate and remember. So again, so draw the navel in a bit more and a bit less. We'll do one more of these. Good. We then add our inner thigh lift variation. So you breathe in on the first leg and keep it hip height. Breathe out, lift the lower leg. Really focus on the inner thigh to lift rather than the foot. Breathe in to lower and out to lift. So top leg stays as still as possible. It might want to join in a bit. We'll try to keep that quite still. And then draw the navel in and release a bit. And in and release a bit. Really feel how your breath goes into your rib cage, not into the belly. And every now and then again check that you're not sticking your ribs out. And as I said, I know this is all quite a lot. Yeah, but it will become easier, it will sink in after a while of focusing on this. Let's do one more. Good. And lower the legs down. We'll come on to the other side. The same thing on the other side. And as always, you might find one side is a bit easier than the other. So let's see whether it's this one. Good. So find your alignment. Flex the feet. Make sure your hip connection is as neutral as possible. Have your hand on your belly button. Yeah, we start with the single leg lifts. Breathe into the rib cage. Breathe out. Draw the navel in a bit. Breathe into the ribs. Breathe out. Draw the navel in a bit. Release as you lower. Engage as you lift. Release as you lower. Engage as you lift. Remember to keep the lower leg nice and strong. The shoulders as relaxed as possible. And it really helps to push through the heels. Just for a bit more stability there. Draw the navel in. Breathe into the rib cage. Every now and then, make sure you're not sticking the ribs out. Remember to keep that nice and even here. Let's do one more of those. Good. Adding the next variation, breathe in on the first leg, this just to hip height. Yeah. If you lift the leg too high, you can't get there. Yeah, you'd have to tilt the whole body to somehow lever yourself up there. That's why we only want to get to hip height, or maybe a bit lower if this is challenging. Yeah. And then breathe out, draw the navel in. Think about the inner thigh, much more than the feet. It doesn't matter whether the feet get together or not. Yeah, it all depends on how we're designed. Breathe out, draw the navel in. Breathe into the ribs. Release this tension a little bit. Breathe out to engage. Breathe in to release. Yeah. And we only release to the base tension we need to maintain neutral spine and pelvis. Yeah. Last two. Keep the legs really strong, push through the heels. And one more. Excellent. Lower the legs down, come into sitting. So as always, sit a bit higher up if that's more comfortable for you, sitting on a block or on your cushion folded up, or on another cushion you have lying around. That's quite handy. Yeah, we always just want to focus on having the spine nice and long and the hips as relaxed as possible. And we're just going to finish with some side reaches, which is always nice. So you breathe in, reach up, breathe out, reach over. Remember to keep this hip down. Let that hand get quite far away from you so you can release the shoulder. Breathe in here. Breathe out. Return. Breathe in. Reach up. Let the arm be an extension of your spine. Push that side of the hip down. Release the shoulder away. Breathe in here. Breathe out to return. We'll do that again one more time. Breathe in. And out. Make sure not to lean forwards. Try to go right to the side. Good. Just sliding along that imaginary wall behind us. Beautiful. And then round the back, tilt the pelvis if your tailbone is happy. Look at your belly button. Breathe in, stretch up, look up at the ceiling, send the heart forwards. Extend the arms out. Drop the arms heavy, give the shoulders a twirl. Take a nice deep breath in and out. And we're done.